I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Livestock and Grain Market News, here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary for the week ending August the 2nd, where you had yearling feeder cattle selling firm to $4 higher. That's the 10th straight week that values of feeder cattle have made gains, starting back since right before Memorial Weekend and all the way through the summer, just been gaining, and I mean in chunks. $20 higher than the same time a year ago right now. And your Chicago Mercantile Exchange feeder cattle index value, which is based on a 750 pound steer, it's right now at 149.50, and it's at its highest point since mid to late January there. But these yearling demand shows no signs of weakening, and just gaining and gaining. And these calves have benefited from the higher, heavier cattle prices, and that trickle-down demand has just pushed these calves. Even in the summer here, we haven't even got to the time where they normally buy a lot of calves, but calves sold $2 to $6 higher this week. Instances as much as $8 or $10 higher in places, but a full $2 to $6 anywhere that calves were well tested, and starting to bring a few more calves every week out of the woodwork. But the corn just keeps going down. As those corn prices go down and we see that feed costs are going to be a whole lot cheaper, it just continues to drive these feeder cattle prices. The whole eastern half, or eastern 2/3, of the United States is kind of falling into a wet pattern here, with having thunderstorms and pop-up showers just every little bit. And of course, there's always a few places that are dry, but for the most part, the eastern 2/3 is doing pretty okay. Now you get way out west, and there's spots out there that's sure dry and a lot of fires and things going on. But in the high production areas, including the Corn Belt and other places, some of those highest production areas are seeing a lot of beneficial moisture, and it's going to make a lot of difference whenever they start harvesting these crops. But the video auctions have really gotten huge in the last several years, especially in the summertime, selling these feeder cattle. I remember in the mid-90s, I did a college seminar presentation on whether video auctions were the fad or the future, and I can't remember what the outcome of my presentation was, but these videos are definitely here to stay, and they're growing, and there's several competing videos, and all of them doing a good job. This week on Monday, the Cattle Country video, and that's kind of a joint effort of several major regional sale barns across the mid part of the country, stretching from Creston, Iowa, all the way out to the Torrington Livestock Commission, and several in between have decided to go together and put on these videos, because sometimes when you got strings of cattle turned out, it's hard to get people to haul them into the sale barn. Now, when we get to the big strings of calves and your smaller calf herds, those calves are going to need sexed and sorted more, and you'll see the numbers return to the sale barns. But when you've got strings, especially of yearlings, or if you've got big strings of calves, it's hard to get people to go to the expense of hauling them into a sale barn facility, go through the shrink and everything of having them sorted up, and then paying a commission there just to have the buyer load them on a truck and do it all over again. But at the Cattle Country video on Monday, they had 180 head of all natural steers out of Tryon, Nebraska, weighed 900 pounds to come in September, bring 154. Very fancy price right there. All during the week, Superior Videos, Video Royale, and I think it's 21 this time if I can read my Roman numerals, but they started going out to places and trying to go to those places to get the customers coming in. They were in Winnemucca, Nevada for this big sale. It kind of drew some more of those cattle that are way out west there, because Superior's base is more in the central part of the United States. But and a lot of times on this video and in this national feeder summary, we don't talk a lot about cattle that are way out west, because frankly, we don't get a lot of market reporting from way out west, and we don't hear about as many of those big strings. But near Reno, Nevada, at the Sierra Valley Ranch, they sold a bunch of fancy yearlings there. They had 2 loads of fancy NHTC or non-hormone steers weighing 770 coming right away. So that's right now's market, current delivery, weighing 770 pounds, bring 159, and that's in Reno, Nevada. 540 head of their big brothers to weigh 865 pounds at 155 and a quarter. That is a huge price, and it's a huge price way out west there. Not sure where those cattle are going to go on feed at, but wherever they're going to go, they're going to have a lot of expense in those cattle. And you look at some of these prices we're seeing on yearlings, and everybody says it's crazy, and why are these cattle feeders doing it, and they got such a short memory, but they're getting into some cheaper feed costs. Now, these pounds add up a lot faster than dollars do, especially on a price. But when you can start putting pounds on cheaper, you can cheapen cattle up in a hurry. And that's really coming to fruit right now. And we're seeing these guys have the ability to lock in some cheaper feed costs. And on these high performance cattle, like some of these consignments that we just talked about, if those cattle come in there and gain 4 something, 5 something a day on cheaper feed costs, and have the genetics to put out the kind of carcass that these guys are wanting, these cattle will work. But they're able to put these pounds on cheaper, and that's a lot better betting on the come of trying to feed some cattle cheaper than it is to bet on the come of the fed cattle market getting higher, because we don't have as much control over that. But when they buy the good cattle, they've got possession of the feed, then they've got more control over what they're doing. Your slaughter cow prices are starting to come up. With these high price yearlings and moisture across many areas, we may see more and more slowly of these heifers starting to be retained. We're starting to see that right now. Because these ranchers need all the money they can get. Well, if these cattle are bringing a lot more than what they thought, maybe they can keep back a few more heifers. They've already got their cow herds culled down quite a bit. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a lot of culling of cow herds, which were already whittled down pretty good. But we're starting to see lighter runs of slaughter cows showing up in these sale barns, and the prices are starting to come up, getting up where these good slaughter cows are bringing well into the 80s and these high dressers into the 90s, which it can't bring any more cull cows to town, but it will take out the older bred cows and make it where guys trying to get started want to buy a few cows. It's going to take them out of the market. But fed cattle market was steady once again this week, and surely we found the bottom of that thing, as much resistance as we found right here. But 119 in the southern feedlot areas, 194, 195 steady again in the northern areas. Regional weighted averages this week: an 800 to 900 pound steer in the north central states cost you 154.86 compared to 147.69 last week and 136.29 a year ago. Down in the south central states, a 700 to 800 pound steer cost you 151.56 compared to 146.89 last week and 136.29 a year ago. Down in the southeast, a 500 to 600 pound steer cost you 151.79 compared to 147.15 last week and 132.86 a year ago. That wraps up your feeder cattle market summary for this week. Check out our website for more market information at marketnews.usda.gov. And from the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.